The bloody fog, a nameless mist that devours body, mind, and reality itself. Nikolaj Havmor drove his old car across the state, 12 hours on the road to see his in-laws. The destination kept flickering in and out of his mind as exhaustion forced his body onto autopilot. He nearly fell asleep at the wheel more than once, nearly killed himself just to please his wife. Happy wife, happy life, the saying went. Sending his wife to her parents had seemed like a good idea at the time. Absence was supposed to make the heart grow fonder. Supposed to, but none of that nonsense worked. Everything remained the same dull, colorless routine. Only now, he was left with the absence. Nikolaj was convinced he was destined for a life of maddening boredom. He lamented his monotone existence but was too weak to change it. Too cowardly, too resigned. So when his car broke down in the middle of nowhere, he didn't even curse. He didn't even flinch when a thick fog enveloped him from every direction. Knowing he'd be far worse off if he didn't find help, Nikolaj simply began walking. 2.5 miles in the sunken clouds, just another reminder of how devoid of light his life was. He eventually stumbled into a sleepy town on the edge of a bay. A tiny quiet settlement, dormant almost at mid-noon, hardly visible through the mercurial mist. He never saw any sign with the town's name, nor any markers to distinguish it from the countless others he'd passed. The buildings were gray and homogeneous, structures built only to house shadows and husks. When he finally gathered the strength to knock on one of the doors, it creaked open, revealing something he wished he had never seen, a corpse-like thing with disheveled hair and pisiform eyes. Its limbs were almost translucent save for a dark blue spiderweb of veins and capillaries. "What do you want in the middle of the night, huh?" it croaked. "It's almost noon, sir." "I'm sorry to disturb," Nikolaj began. "What'd you wake me up for?" The thing barked, its bulging eye darting madly. "I just need help with my car," Nikolaj forced out. "In the middle of the night?" The words sent sweat pouring down Nikolaj's face, his heart pounding like a war drum. Anxiety coiled around him like constrictor snakes. With a trembling voice, desperate to avoid further aggression, he stammered, "Sir," respectfully, "I think you're confusing the thick fog for night time." The door swung open with violent force, knocking him to the ground. The beast slithered out. It crawled over Nikolaj's prone body, humanoid in form but grotesquely wrong. Deathly pale, a massive head, fish eyes, one larger than the other, bulging and pulsating beneath translucent skin. Vibrating violently within a thin veil, barely holding its grotesque form together. It screamed, an impossible sound, every note ever sung, all at once yet none at all. Too high and too low, deafening and inaudible simultaneously. The vibration pulverized Nikolaj's skull. The creature shook and from its vibrations spawned clones. Vile lumps of meat crawled out of every pore, bulging humanoid nematodes rapidly liquefying into carbon copies of their progenitor. The swarm circled him as he curled into a fetal position. Soon he was surrounded, a legion of fish-eyed horrors, all screaming. The earth shook, space-time trembled. The wall of flesh closed in, forming a reverse birth canal around him. The world vibrated within Nikolaj's center of mass until he broke and became one with the cacophony of incomprehensible sound. He screamed with them. Screamed until his vocal cords gave out. Screamed as blood filled his throat. Coughing, he expelled a long serpentine mass of flesh from his mouth. Another one of them. It crawled onto the floor, turned sharply and faced him. Its face was stretched horizontally, one eye on top, the other on the bottom, a squared mouth filled with boxed human teeth. It screamed at him loudest and quietest, forcing every particle of his body to vibrate into oblivion. As his consciousness drifted away, beyond matter, beyond quantum paradox, beyond concept, his monstrous child turned on him. It struck him down, biting into his scalp. Nikolaj never registered death. He never could. The massive flesh walls collapsed with nuclear force, birthing a corpse star that lasted a nanosecond before imploding into mist once more. Descending over the nameless town on the bay, simultaneously, somewhere in a hospital, a woman sat drenched in tears, waiting, hoping. A doctor approached with a solemn expression. "Well?" She choked. "Mrs. Mordov." He could hardly meet her eyes. "If I were you, I'd file for a divorce. Start over. You're young. You still have time." She broke down again. "Ma'am, you could still build a family," he continued, voice almost mechanical. "If it means anything, your husband isn't quite dead. His brain is intact, perfectly normal. But there's nobody there. It's as if some fog descended on his every synapse. Tears blurred her vision. He is simply not there. Is there nothing you can do?" she begged. "No treatment?" The doctor sighed. There is no cure for those who wander into the fog. The admission tasted like bile. His pride ached more than the patient's loss. He loathed her for asking, loathed her idiot husband for wandering off, for making medicine look weak, pathetic, insignificant. How dare they remind him that forces existed beyond human genius? He fought the urge to scream at her, to lash out, to beat her bloody. It took all his strength to feign sympathy, to choke down the disgust burning his throat. Outside, fog rolled in on the hospital grounds. Not ordinary fog, but something else, something alive. A storm cloud metastasized within the mist, flashes of light flickering through its mass. Slowly, it took the shape of a brain, one of many such astroneural networks, ever entwined inside a nebulous, tentacled mass spanning millions of galaxies. A disorganized, omnipresent thought, a paradox reserved only for the divine and the damned. The spark of catatonic madness reflected in the clouded eyes of a man who once wandered into a fog rolling in from far, far away.